welcome to the Barely Living Dread Girls podcast, where we like to get high and talk about horror movies. I'm Casey.
Oh, it's my turn. Hi, I'm Jess.
She's Jess.
Yeah.
She's so pretty.
I really like to play into the part.
Yes.
I'm actually kind of smart, but I'll never let you know it. But anyways.
Boys don't like smart girls, but girls do. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god, I just got so much hotter in here. What are you doing later?
Listen, Ash Nico's album has made me so gay this week. So gay. She is girl crazy. But we're not talking... This is not an Ash Nico podcast, unfortunately.
It'd be cool if maybe one day.
Ooh, yeah, we'll do an Ash Nico episode. She does a lot of horror stuff.
Yeah.
What are we covering today, Jess?
So this one is a tough one, guys.
It's so good. Oh my god, we're ending on a banger. An absolute banger. I don't care who you are. If you disagree with me, you're wrong.
So this is Gerald's game. It is the final edition of our Stephen King Summer.
Goodbye, Stephen King. I'm kind of sick of you. Not really, but also I'm excited to get on to different movies.
To be fair as well, she has read all the books as well as consuming all of the movies. So, I think it's absolutely fair if you say you're a little sick of it.
I didn't read this book. I'm sorry, I didn't have time. But that's okay. I did read all the rest. I know.
I can't even read. I read 20, I'm not illiterate. I think I have ADHD. If Rachel was watching this, that's my therapist. We talked about this yesterday. I was I read 20 pages, and then I'll put the book down and go do something, and I'll come back, and it's the page, the words disappeared off the page.
Oh no, that sucks.
It's awful. That's why I can't read.
Yeah. See, I'm in a book club, and I've been reading the book club book, and not this book. But I'm reading Invisible Monsters, and it's amazing.
Well, to be fair, this is a movie review podcast, so if you take a break from the book, it's okay.
It's okay. And
you have time.
I love this fucking movie. I really do. I am very excited to read the book one day. But yeah, Gerald's Game. It was a 92 book, I think. Movie came out in 2017. It is a Netflix original, Netflix special. Directed by Mike Flanagan. We are Mike Stanigans around here.
Ooh, I love that. Total Mike Stanigans.
Yes.
We should get shirts made this.
Yes. And I love him. He did Gerald's Game, he did Dr. Sleep, he did Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor. He
Midnight
did,
Mass.
Hush. I mean, the guy's incredible.
Midnight Club.
I didn't see it.
It's not as, horror forward. It's more of, kind of a teen drama horror. But
He does drama well.
It was really good, and it was really, gut-wrenching, because it's about, these kids that all have terminal illnesses going to this school together so they can basically live like a normal teenager for the rest of their days. It's really sad.
Wow.
But, I mean, it's super powerful.
Right. So this is, this was considered, Stephen King's unfilmable book. Again, I already admitted I haven't read the book, but I can 100% see why, they would think that, because, and I'm 99% sure that the figments in her imagination, her talking to Gerald and herself, aren't a part of the book. Everything's just in her head. It's literally just a woman on a bed is the entire book. And so, everybody was like, you can't do that. It's just going to be her talking to herself. But Mike Flanagan knows what to do. I mean...
And he found a way.
Yeah, I mean, we're not reviewing Dr. Sleep this summer. Obviously, this is the last one. We'll review it one day, I'm sure. But, I mean, what he did with that movie as a sequel to Kubrick's movie, but also a sequel to King's original book and an adaptation of the sequel, he literally mastered it so perfectly and just made everybody happy with that movie. And then there's this, and he puts his wife in everything. Kate Siegel? Carla Gugino is not. Carla Gugino is the main character. She's Jess. Kate Siegel is the mom, the pregnant mom. And he is married to Kate Siegel. Did you see Hush?
Yeah.
She's the deaf woman.
Oh my gosh.
They're married. When they were writing that movie together, because they co-wrote that movie, he would go outside of their house and, like, walk around and try to find ways to break into the house. And they were, like, writing it together that way. And she'd be, like, inside watching TV. And, like, yeah.
They're crazy.
A wonderful married couple. I love them.
Yeah, she's beautiful. And I feel like the mom definitely, like, looked like an older...
I literally wrote perfect casting.
Perfect casting.
I have honestly confused them a time or two. Like, at a very simple glance, just like, okay, that's Kate Siegel, or, that's Carla Gugino.
Chills.
Yeah.
Because of how good the acting was in this movie.
Carla Gugino is everything. I mean, I've loved her. I've had a crush on her since Spy Kids. As a child. Oh my
god, you're so right!
But I love her in everything. She's incredible. She is incredible. I think another person that gets kind of confused in that circle, the same kind of like Margot Robbie, Samara Weaving, that kind of circle, those three also include, oh my god, the person just slipped out of my mind. It'll come back to me.
I feel like she looks like a brunette, Via Farmiga a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. But anyway, I
think before we get into this,
yes, go ahead.
I would like to, just put out a little trigger warning.
Absolutely.
This is a really hard movie to watch. I forgot how hard it was to watch for me because I'd only seen it once, and it was when it like first came out on Netflix. It's an incredible movie, but it definitely deals with the topic of sexual assault,
sexual abuse against children. I've been watching a lot of SVU recently, so I am glad that Jess brought that up because, and I've seen this movie so many times, but I feel like especially like these past few weeks, I'm a little more desensitized specifically to the sexual abuse in TV and movies because, I mean, SVU is every episode. And in the 100%. Last 2 weeks, in the last week and a half, I've binged 3 full seasons. Each episode's 40-something minutes, and there's 20-something episodes per season.
One thing you need to know about Casey is when she, like, hyperfixates on something, it is game over. Like, the fact that she can read a book in a week blows my mind. The fact that she can sit and binge 3 seasons of the same show. And these are not bad things. These are things my brain just would explode.
I love Mariska Hargitay so much.
But when Casey hyperfixates on things, like she just showed me a fucking picture she did in the clown bathroom. She's like, yeah, this has like, it was like one of those little like
diamond paintings.
She's like, yeah, this one has 10,000 on it. That one has 20,000. I was like, I want to throw up. I like gave her a couple paintings that I did, and they took me like an hour, and I was just like, my nose is bleeding. Here's some blood. Like, so I'm just not.
I do hyperfixate. Yeah, I go a couple months where I severely hyperfixate on one thing. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. Nothing else can get in my way. I don't want to consume anything else. And yeah, currently it's Law & Order SVU. On top of Mariska Hargitay, I watched that show for Ice-T. That man is amazing. I fucking love Ice-T. That show would not be the same. Would not be the same without him just saying shit. He just says shit. He just be saying shit. I'm convinced he doesn't have a script. He just goes on a set and just responds.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Love that man. Go watch SVU.
I used to watch it all the time when I was younger.
I didn't. It was never my mom's kind of show. And my mom and I kind of watched Criminal Minds a little when I was in college.
Oh, my grandma loves Criminal Minds.
I think SVU is 10,000 times better than Criminal Minds.
I do, too.
And I loved Criminal Minds, but SVU is better.
I agree, but...
Plus, Casey Novak is such a badass.
That's true.
Anyway, again, this is not an SVU podcast. But yes, I do think a trigger warning is very necessary for this. There is a slightly explicit scene, not... I spit on your grave explicit or anything like that. But there is a scene that is, it does go on for a few minutes. There is a teenager involved, or preteen. I don't know how old the actress is. And an actor that I absolutely love, a Mike Flanagan regular. That guy was in Haunting of Hill House. He played Jack Torrance in Dr. Sleep. Mm-hmm. So it's really weird to see him be that creep.
Mm-hmm. He looks like the dad from Black Phone.
Yes, yeah, he does. Yeah. They are not the same, but it's... So, yeah, I'm not even going to make any excuses for the trigger warning. I do think it's kind of hard to watch.
The scene, like the scene of when they first get
in
to
the eclipse, or...
No, before that, too. I think there are several things that could be triggering in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. So
especially if it's something that you're very, like, essay is something you're very, very, like, sensitive to.
This may be, honestly, maybe one to skip if you think... If it's something that you can watch in movies and be okay with, I think it's really well done. And I think this is and beyond the story, it's an amazingly shot movie. The sound design is incredible. The acting is amazing. I mean, Carla Gugino's performance is amazing. But if it's something you do struggle with in movies and TV and stuff like that, and it's not something you like to consume in your media, this might be one to skip because it's heavily featured. I mean, it's a big part of it. It's how she saves herself,
right?
So I think, and I do think that's why it's an integral part of the story. It's not, and that's another thing. It's not just thrown in as shock factor. This is a story about that and how she overcomes it, how she gets through it, and how she's able to accept it and tell people, and it does end up saving her. All those little things, throughout her life and throughout the day kind of come back to, save her in the end. Yeah,
and it's a story about mental health and trauma and PTSD and, regression and how we hide away so many memories that are painful to us.
And I think it shows a very interesting, not often shown side of a slightly abusive relationship.
Right.
Because I do think, in a way, and I in the end, I don't think Gerald's supposed to be the evil in this movie. I don't think he's the bad guy. I think he's portrayed as kind of a bad guy, and I think he's kind of meant to stand in for just, like, a generality of men. He is not the worst of them. He's not her father. He's not the Moonlight Man. He's everyman. He's the everyman.
Right.
So I don't think we're meant to come away with it being like, God, I'm so glad Gerald died. I think we're meant to come away knowing that she was with him because of the trauma she went through, and still understanding that, yes, I do think it was an abusive relationship, the way that he controlled her, even if it was subconsciously, the dynamic of their relationship, she's still, and I don't think that's, because it's so subtle, that I don't think that that's a type of relationship that's portrayed often when you're seeing an abusive relationship of that kind.
Yeah.
Because it's so subtle. In a lot of movies, things are black or white. If you're in a good relationship or a bad one.
This one is way more gray.
Way more gray. Absolutely. I mean, even in the end, one of her last lines is, your dad's shackles were silence, and his were comfort.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not a bad thing, but it's still his shackles of that marriage.
It's really...
So good. Stephen King's amazing.
Yeah, the play on, like, the trauma of, like, her relationship with her dad, like, causing her to end up being with somebody that
marrying into the same dynamic.
Yeah.
The same dynamic. The only dynamic she's ever known. That's, like, a line in the movie. But... Anyway, Carla Gugino, the other, Gerald is played by Bruce Greenwood. He was also in Gerald's Game. I think he's amazing. Not Gerald the character, but several things that Bruce Greenwood does remind me so much of Jeff. He reminds me of Jeff in so many ways, but in the good ways, when he's acting like a normal person and not like a psychopath. But anyway, Bruce Greenwood's amazing, and then, Kate Siegel is the mom later on. I didn't get the name of the little girl who plays the actress, but she's really good, too.
Yeah.
We start with Bring It On Home. God, I love that song. I was singing along to it, and we have these... I love the overhead shots of them packing, and he lays out the cuffs just, like, perfectly on top, and then zips it up.
And she, like... puts her beautiful slip dress on the bed and looks at it, and I was like, they're packing up for a sexy getaway.
Yeah. Yes, they are. They are headed out to their little cabin in the woods.
It's like a lake house kind of situation.
Yeah.
They've got a dock. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. Pretty far away from people, though.
Yes, they are in the middle of nowhere. They talk about that.
Like half a mile away is like the nearest neighbor.
Yeah.
Which in retrospect isn't far, but,
it's important.
It's important.
Yes. So they're on their way there. They almost hit this dog because it's in the middle of the road. And the first time it reminded me of Jeff when I watched this the first time. They almost hit the dog and she's like looking at it in the rearview mirror and he says, we're not going back for it. And I'm just like, that would be me. I'd be like, do you need a home?
Yeah, 100%. Me too.
Do you need a home?
But worse for me is that I don't have anyone to tell me no, so I'm just like, Skrrr!
You got 2 dogs at home to tell you, no one else.
Yeah.
They said we don't need another brother. Especially Leroy. He's like, I already have one dumbass in this house. Don't bring me another.
And Steele's just like,
Steele has no thoughts.
So he wouldn't think yes or no. He'd just be like,
and his head is just the like clapping monkey, just going do 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 do, just all day.
That's
every day.
me sometimes. Maybe he learned it from me.
Got it from my mama. So
dog shows up at the lake house once they get there.
Because she brings it out some Kobe ribeye. He's like,
it's $200 from Kobe.
Person. I know, it's from Kobe. I laughed every time he did that. It's $200 a portion. Who the fuck would spend that much on meat? I'm sorry. But she does feed it to the dog, and I love that. It's actually, and I think it's important to see this side of Gerald, too, because, yes, he does come out and he's like, hey, what are you doing? But he even tells her to leave it. He's like,
that'll be the best meat he's ever had.
He's like, that's the woman I married. That's that loving, that's, you are who you are. And I just like that. I thought that was really important to see that side of them.
Absolutely.
Before we see him turn in about 35 seconds.
Right. Well, I think it's important to note, too, that we already thought they had a strange dynamic from the start when they're in the car driving to the house.
Oh, there's tension.
Oh, 100%. He, puts his hand on her leg and, starts to rub up her dress. And she, grabs his hand and, kisses it. And it's just like, no. And he's like, this is going to be so good for us, Jess.
Yeah.
I was like, that's my name. Yeah.
That's my name.
I don't even think they eat the steak.
Oh, the dog eats the steak. They don't.
They had more steaks, though.
Oh, they had more steaks, but the dog...
Yeah.
The dog got some steak, and then he got some Soylent Green.
But we're moving to the bedroom. She's got her beautiful slip dress on. She's trying to
Carla Gugino.
She's gorgeous.
Oh my god, what a stunner.
I was like, no matter what position you lay in, you look damn good.
And she's you can tell she's a little nervous. She's kind of smoothing herself out and just
changing her
she
poses.
Can't figure out how she wants to say. It's so. I feel bad for both of them. That's the thing. I just feel like they were both in the wrong relationship, maybe.
Yeah.
And just neither of them know how to communicate clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And she has an excuse. We just don't know what his is,
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what his childhood was like. We're only in her head. Even though Gerald stays with us the rest of the movie, it is Gerald
her subconscious.
It is her Gerald. It is Gerald in her head.
It's her inner monologue, torn.
And you can kind of tell he acts so much different.
Mm-hmm.
Her portrayal of him is so narcissistic and just such an asshole. And that's not really how he was before that. He was kind of a dick. You could tell there was some tension. They were mad at each other and not 100% together. But he wasn't that much of a dick.
Right.
But in her mind, her little outline of him, her version of him, is just straight up asshole.
Yeah.
And I think that says something about the way she felt about him when he died. Or, well, right before he died.
Right.
I think right after she felt differently.
But he did pop a Viagra.
Yes, he
because
right
trying
before.
To get freaky with the lady.
Yeah, and he got a little glass of water. It's almost
every little detail is so important in this movie.
Yes. It's almost a little secondhand embarrassment when he's trying to role play, because you can really feel her being uncomfortable with it, because he's trying to set up a rape fantasy basically.
Yeah.
He's got her handcuffed to the bed, so her one hand is over here on the bedpost, and the other hand is tied to the other bedpost with real metal handcuffs. Her legs are free. And he, like, gets on top of her. He's doing, like, a little, like, ooh, I bet you wish your husband was coming back. And
like, rip the pillows out from under her.
She's, like, you know, you can just tell she's really uncomfortable. And she starts, like, freaking out and saying, get off of me. And he's like, what the fuck? I thought you were going to try this. And there's a really, really sad line that she says. She's like, this isn't going to save us. It never was. And then she says, please just get me out of here. And the one of the most chilling parts of the entire movie is when he looks at her and he says, what if I won't?
What if I won't? Yeah.
And she says, what? It's like, what if I'm nice, though? Like, that part is so chilling. That, like, that turn of, like, but what if I'm nice now? What if I don't like you? What if we just try? It just, that, like, this, I think, is one of the things that I think would be so hard to watch, is watching her so helpless.
Yeah.
So, with the man she trusts more than anyone. The man she loves. And, like, literally just so defenseless. You have, like, imagine your arms just being completely, nothing.
She said no. She said stop. She did not want that. So, I think it's very important. I know a lot of people, like, people that we know, because of the people we surround ourselves with, know this. But to everybody that may not have quite the understanding of these things, marriage does not equal consent.
Nope.
Like, it doesn't matter if you're married.
Nope.
Doesn't matter if you're dating.
Nope.
None of that matters. No is always no. Stop is always stop. And I think
it doesn't matter if it's in the middle of something. If you've been married for 40 years and you're in the middle of sex and one of the partners says no,
you don't finish.
That's the end of consent.
You get off.
That's the end of consent. You can take away consent at any point.
Absolutely.
And yes, that 100% what he is about to do
would have.
There's no question
about
it. That is that line.
Yeah.
If she says no, that's it.
Yeah. So sorry, I just wanted to.
Yes, and so he goes in for another kiss, and she bites the shit out of him.
Yeah, she
I
does.
love that for her,
and not in a sexy way. Like, get the fuck off me. This is the only way I can defend myself.
And again, part of the sound design. Yeah, she like kind of crunches on his lip, and he like backs up, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And you can see he's getting mad. And then again, Bruce Greenwood's such a good actor. I think it's kind of he's like almost a little in the background because Carla is so amazing that you can almost forget about his performance. But right here, when he's really mad, and then you just slowly start to see on his face just that, like, he's like, we were happy, and he's like kind of holding his chest and holding his arm, and just like the emotions just crossing his face are so fucking good. It feels so real. Yeah. And he has a heart attack and dies on top of her, just right on her.
Oh my god. And she's like,
wake up. What a little makeup. And she manages to, like, get her feet up, and she pushes him off her.
And then he just goes, blub, blub.
Cracks his head on the fucking ground.
That fucking thud. Yes. The sound design, like you said.
Yeah.
That thud, I was like, ooh, if for whatever reason, if he wasn't already dead.
He did.
He did now. He did now.
And she's, like, laying on the bed with her hands up here. He's at the foot of the bed, so she can't actually see him. She sees, like, part of his, like, hand laying there, but she can't see what he's doing. She's screaming and crying. And again, another really well-shot and sound-directed moment is when we're looking at her and she's yelling, and then we're at the window and she's yelling and it's quieter, and then we're a little further and it's quieter, and then we're out, like, past the driveway.
I love that shot.
Hear her
I love those shots.
And it's to establish, like, how far away anyone is. No one is going to hear her. Yeah. Ever.
And I just love that she has these, like, in and out moments of kind of sanity. Like, when he's laying there and she's screaming for help, and you can feel the desperation in her yelps and her screams, and she's like, sound more real now? Like, still talking to him like he's like...
Oh, and she's like, Craig, she's like, you could do whatever you want, just get up and try again, it's fine. She's like, she's in denial, she's trying to deny that he's gone, and the the straw that finally breaks her mind is that dog comes back, because she had left the door open.
That was also very important, and they made it important because she, like, They walk in,
He's,
she
pulling
turns.
her along a little bit.
She sees the doors open, and then she turns back and walks in, and I'm just like,
Dog comes in, starts sniffing around. He's a hungry stray. There's fresh meat on the floor. What do you think the dog's gonna do? The dog's gonna do what dog does. This dog did nothing wrong. He didn't.
So at this point, we see a pool of blood emerge around Gerald. And the dog comes in, slurping the blood, and she's like, "Get away from him!" But not before the dog is like, hop.
Grabs a piece of his arm flesh. There's a very important, right above between the two poles of the bedpost, there is a shelf just above her head, and there's a book up there. She throws the book at it.
What book was it? Do you remember?
Oh, no, and I didn't write it down.
It was Midnight Mass.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
I didn't realize that the first time I watched it. I was like, fuck, it's Midnight Mass.
That's so cool. And you can, her mind kind of breaks in that moment because you can see, so she's, looking over at it, and his hand comes up and grabs the bed, and he stands up. And she's you can see this look on her face, oh my god, he's alive, oh my god, he's alive. And when point of view changes, to the other side of the room, and you watch him step over his own body to, kick at the dog or whatever, and you're like, oh no. And he even starts talking, he's like, I've been down there, what, hour and a half, you've just been screaming.
Wasting time.
God, it's so good.
Then they start going through, so these parts of her mind are processing everything, and they start her and Gerald, that part of her mind are going through all the realizations of the fact that the neighbors won't be there till June. The gardeners came beforehand. The maid came beforehand. Fridge is stocked. There's nobody coming. Yep.
Which, yeah, that's
and
good.
Who could hear you scream besides Cujo? Another reference.
Right.
Which I think is funny. I love Easter eggs.
Stephen King's world is full of them.
Yes.
I do, so...
That's why I like that Mike Flanagan threw something of his in there.
Right.
I was like, okay.
And, again, there's, little things that, she's trying to figure out what she needs to do. She remembers this stupid joke that Gerald said, and she's like, I'm a life support system. I need to figure out how to keep it going. And when, that's when she's just talking to imaginary Gerald, and then imaginary Jess comes up, and, she says something about, we might die here today because of Gerald's 5 inches. I just thought that was a really funny line. And we start getting these hints of something happened to her when she was younger. Mm-hmm. And the imaginary Gerald doesn't know what's going on. And it's a literal representation of her not being able to even admit things to herself. To some of her own parts of her own mind, she can't admit what happened to her, and that what happened to her was a terrible, awful, tragic, traumatic thing. They start talking about the Viagra because, and Carla, the imaginary Jess is like, you're happy he took those little blue pills. And
all little subtle clues that we love to see her slowly start to break down in her own mind.
Because when she had been tied up, there was a very pointed shot of her looking at the bottle of pills, and he had gotten thirsty from them, so he went and grabbed the glass of water, took a little drink, and then set it on top of the shelf. And that's when she remembers, oh shit, there's a glass of water up there.
How am I going to get it?
And then so she's tilting the shelf, she tilts it, she gets it in her hand, but then she can't bring her hand to her mouth. And that's when she remembers that Gerald said something about the slip that she was wearing, which was brand new. She had taken the tag off. All these cool little things that if I was trapped in this situation, I think I'd probably just lay there and be like, fuck, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I don't think I think of these little things, because she makes the tag into, like, a straw.
And drinks the water.
So she can drink the water.
And save some for later. Like, that's, you know, I would have drank it all, and I would have been like, well, I'm dead. Yep. Well, that's the last of my water.
Yeah, there's, like, the imaginary Jess is, like, the, like, logical part of her conscience trying to keep her alive. And, oh my god, when she's, like, working with the, shelf thing, and she's, like, holding the glass, and she's putting it back up there, her arms are so toned. Oh my god, her arms are so toned.
Oh, man.
Mine are so flabby.
Yeah. Bingo. Anyways, so, you know, needs to save her strength. So what little she has left. So she drifts off to sleep, but is awoken. The dog hears...
The scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my god, truly. The dog is whining, and then it, like, runs away. And it's just, like, this slow scene of her staring into the darkness of the room. And the first thing that I saw was, like, between between the window and, like, the wall with, like, the curtains down, I see just, like, an arm kind of come into focus. And then I just, like, you see this gigantic...
It's almost like your eyes are focusing with the dark as hers are.
Yes. Another beautifully shot
Yes. It's like
scene.
Your eyes are adjusting to the dark. Because it's not like he steps forward or the lights come on or anything. Because it's a dark room. It's just that he kind of slowly comes into view.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally like your eyes are adjusting to the dark.
Yeah. So, we're living this horror with her. It's not like we see it before her. We are, like, experiencing this together. And it's this gigantic... deformed, terrifying...
That's what that guy really looks like, too, by the way.
Man, oh, I feel bad saying he's deformed.
He has acromegaly. It's an actual condition, so his arms really are that long, his forehead protrudes. He's done a couple, like, parts like that. And I want to say it's the same... Yeah, acromegaly. I think that's the same thing that Tiny, the actor that played Tiny in House of Thousand Corpses, I think that's the same thing he suffered from. He
that makes
passed.
sense.
I think this guy is still alive. But yes, I mean, they added a little bit. He doesn't, like, they put makeup on him and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, and, like,
and,
his
like,
eyes,
on his teeth.
Yeah. But, no, that's what his actual body looks like. Yes, that actor really does have acromegaly. And it's... But they make him look terrifying. They obviously he doesn't look like a real person in the movie.
His eyes look sunken in and black. Yeah. Like, it's like
they're
black.
Yellow and glowing, and his skin
teeth
is literally
are like
gray. Like, just gray all around.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, like, in, like, a big overcoat kind of thing, and he's got this, like, bag of bones and jewelry. And,
it's like a chest.
It's terrifying. It's
really fucking scary.
And there's a jump scare with him later that I still, like, every time I see it, I'm just like, ooh. With the dog and the foot. Oh, I hate it. So she's staring at him, and she literally just says, "You're not real." She's, like, closing her eyes, and Gerald comes back, like, imaginary Gerald. He's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure he's not real? Are you sure he's not real? Are you sure about that?" And she closes her... I love this part, too, because she closes her eyes, and she keeps them closed for long enough that you don't know if it was real or not. She keeps her eyes closed for long enough before it, like, the camera jumps back to that corner that he could have had enough time to leave, or he could have not been there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, like, it's that, like, when you're first watching it, you're like, oh my god, was that real? Like, was that a real, like...
The first time I watched this movie, I was like, figment of her imagination.
Yep.
Just something...
Absolutely.
She's going through it. She is stressed.
Absolutely. That's her specter of death.
Yeah.
That's what she's seeing, because she's going crazy, she's dying, she's hallucinating. Absolutely. And that's why I love that part, because if she'd closed her eyes and opened them right back up and he'd have been gone, then yeah, that'd have been obvious and it wouldn't have made sense later. She closed her eyes for a long time.
Yeah.
Had plenty of time. And even, like, the imaginary Gerald, she's like, he's not real, and he's like, then what spooked the dog?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Are you sure he's not under the bed?
And then we get the flashback.
Yeah.
And it's not, one's hard to watch, describe, talk about, think about. But we're gonna get through it because we reviewed Cannibal Holocaust on this fucking show. So we're gonna get through it, okay? We're gonna get through it. So we flash back to Jess as a 12 years old. And her family, she's got some younger siblings and her mom and her dad. Her mom's pregnant, played by Kate Siegel. So there's an eclipse that's going to happen at their little river house, lake house, or whatever that they have. All these people are so fucking rich.
Right.
I want a lake house.
Jesse, if you're listening, invite us out to your lake house. My boss told me he started listening to our podcast. He loves how we called Michael Myers Mikey My My.
Mikey My My! That's my boy!
He loved it. I was
You're my boy.
You listen to my podcast? So, Jesse, if you're listening, invite us to your lake house. We're not saying you're rich because you have a lake house, but I'm not saying...
No, but this family
that
is
you should
clearly
invite us out so we can go on the boat with Carl. Carl's his German Shepherd. He's a big baby. Oh my god, that's awesome. He has one ear that goes like this, one ear that goes like this.
Alright, I love Carl.
This is a Carl Stanigan.
Carl and Mike Stanigan.
Sorry, go ahead.
So, well, the little baby Jess doesn't want to go on the boat to go watch the eclipse. There's this very uncomfortable scene where the mom and the dad are fighting, and the mom's like, yeah, she's daddy's little girl, and I hate the mom. I hate the mother. I hate the mother almost as much as I hate the dad.
So fucking poorly about this
She's
child.
like, yeah, she's such a brat. She always rolls her eyes at me. She's so good for you, though. And I'm like, she's 12, and if you suspect something, why are you blaming your daughter? Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like she knows there's, like, something weird happening or gonna happen, and she's literally blaming Jess. And Jess is kind of listening. But anyway, Dad and Jess stay back while the rest of the family goes on the boat. And they're out on this bench, and they're watching the eclipse. Sam starts playing again, and we get a fucking, again, back to that song. Everything comes back. Because when they were in the car and Sam starts playing, she turns the radio off. And it's because when that song started playing, when she was 12 years old, her dad asked her to sit on his lap, and he, and that is what happened. And I don't know how to say anything else. I don't want to say the words. So let's go watch the movie. I'm just kidding. He doesn't touch her, whatever. It's just, it's kind of an explicit scene. It's really hard to watch.
He does touch himself.
He touches himself,
with her on his lap.
And she knows what's happening. You can see it on her face. And it does go on for a little while. It's a very uncomfortable scene to watch. And
I'm uncomfortable. Like, I'm just literally slumped in my seat right now because I'm so uncomfortable even. It's, oof.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. And we do flash back to her talking to the imaginaries. And Gerald's like, you never told me that. And she's like, I never told anyone. I have never told a single person. And she is defending herself against her own conscience, saying, he didn't rape me. He never touched me. It's not the worst thing that anyone's ever done to someone. And her imaginary Jess goes, no, that would be what he did in the bedroom after. And it is. This is almost harder to watch, I think. Because it's too real to watch. We flash back. Right before we flash back, when imaginary Gerald's talking to her, one of my absolute favorite it may be my favorite detail in the entire movie is when he's talking, and I didn't notice it the first 2 times I watched this movie. When there's, in this scene right before they flash back to the bedroom, Gerald's talking, and there's like a little fly on his tooth, and he licks it, spits it out, and a little fly he spits it out, and the fly flies away because it's on his dead body. And so even the imaginary him is, because she saw the flies buzzing around at the bottom of the bed, and so even the imaginary him and spits a little fly out. It is just, it's the tiniest little thing, and I'm just like, So anyway, we do flash back to when she's 12. After this happened, she had this dress on that, her mom said was too small for her. When we flash back, she's changed into jeans and a long sleeve sweater.
Right after what had happened. And then her dad proceeds to gaslight the absolute fuck out of her. Like the worst I've ever seen in a movie.
It's disgusting.
Manipulation. It's disgusting.
Oh, to its finest. Because and again, I love this actor. I think he does such a good job with it because I hate him in this role.
I hate him.
The way he's like...
We have to tell Mom.
We have to tell Mom. She won't blame you. Probably. She might.
Because you guys don't have a great relationship. Because she doesn't really like you.
And it's, things
so it's going to be
stressful.
worse. Everything is going to be so much worse.
So,
but we should tell her.
But we have to tell her. Because if we don't, then we can never tell anybody. And she's like, well, I won't. And he's like, well, no, you'll tell somebody. You can't tell. We have to tell her now.
We can't tell somebody in a week, in a month, in 10 years. Like, if we
don't say it now, we can never, ever, ever say it. And he literally made this little girl feel so bad about it. Literally convinced her it was her fault without telling her it was her fault. Like, and the fact that, like, I know this has happened. This has happened a million times over. This is the mentality that, unfortunately, so many survivors have. And victims have.
The guilt, the shame. Yes. Because of the manipulation that they face.
That, like, reports are so fucking low.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is the mentality that, unfortunately, just has been rampant for so long. And yeah, it's literally, it's the embodiment of somebody doing that to somebody. It just...
And him making it, like, the whole thing is about him making it seem like it was her idea.
Yes.
To keep it the secret. And he's like, how could I ever... Have I ever denied you anything you've ever wanted?
Right.
Like, she didn't... Because she didn't want that.
And he convinces her that she's begging him. She's like, no, please don't tell. Please, I don't want you to tell. Please, I'll keep a secret. Like, he is fully convinced this little girl. And...
It's heartbreaking.
Jess is talking about it.
Because she loved her dad so much. Like, she was, like,
and she...
a daddy's girl.
Grew up into an adult in that moment, knowing that if she told, or if something happened, or... She was so afraid of it happening to her little sisters,
mm-hmm.
That there's even a point later in the flashback where you can see her dad put a hand on the mom's stomach, and she literally breaks a glass of milk in her hand. And this is when I wrote, I love that everything comes back around. The pills,
mm-hmm.
the water, the slip, the glass, the song.
Yep.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, when she like, smashed a glass in her hand when she was a little kid, and her dad had to, like, bandage her up or whatever. And so we flash back, and...
I'm sorry.
What?
I'm just laughing at this scene.
Yeah.
Not the fucked up scene. I'm sorry. The scene we're about to talk about.
Yes.
Because it's absurd.
It's wonderful.
It's terrifying. We're building it up a lot. I hope.
No, it's a lot. There are people in the horror community. The dead meat people. Chelsea Rebecca, one of the greatest living horror icons, honestly, that's not that's not an actress. Mm-hmm. Like, living horror research legend, I guess is what you can say. Literally said she almost passed out watching that scene. Like, I know people, like, I felt weak. I have never felt... Like, I love the Saw movies. I love the Final Destination movies. I love gore. I love practical effects. And I'll be kind of grossed out. That's one where the first time I watched it, I, like, got a little nauseous. I, like, got, like, a little, like, just, like, not okay about it. So,
why don't you go ahead and talk about it?
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and talk about it. So she's, like... So they say it's going to hurt like hell. But the thing about blood is that until it's dries, it's slicker than oil.
Oh, I think we're talking about different things.
Oh, what are you talking about?
I was talking about... Because after she wakes up from that...
I forgot about
That's
that
why I was
part.
giggling. I'm sorry. Because this part was like...
Never mind. I was talking about something later that made me...
Yes.
Almost vomit and pass out. This is a great jump scare, though.
It is. Talk about it. Yes. So she is waking up from her, the flashback that she was having in her dream. And...
Well, and it starts in the flashback as teen Jess.
Yes.
12-year-old Jess falls back on the bed.
And then with the same position, and then she wakes up in that position, and she looks down, and the Moonlight Man is licking her feet.
Well, and that's as teenage Jess. Teenage Jess looks down and the Moonlight Man's licking her feet. And then Jess wakes up and it's the dog licking her foot.
Yeah, it definitely seemed more like a lucid dream.
Exactly. Like she was waking, like
she
had
was
already
like
kind of
she
woken
was
up.
Her, like, in her current self, but then
when her mind finally came to, she was like,
the dog
it's
licking
not
her
him.
foot.
But yeah, because she like kind of half woke up, saw something licking her foot, and then imagine. Yeah, so she kicks the dog. Dog bites the shit out of her. And she, is like screaming and kicking away. But, I think that happens before the flashback scene with the glass. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyway.
Doesn't matter.
We finally get to this part. The part that everyone, if anyone talks about something in this movie.
Yes, this part, absolutely.
This is the part that they talk about. And this is what I was talking about a moment ago. So, she takes the glass in her hand, and again, there's like this big wooden shelf above her. She takes it and she smashes the glass to pieces, grabs a shard, wedges it in, and like slices across her wrist and then up into her palm. So there's like an upside down T. And then, if you know what a degloving is, that's what this is called. It's called degloving.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Flanagan is literally famous for it. Hand trauma. Like, because in Dr. Sleep, Rose the Hat degloves herself. In Hush, she gets her hand completely fucking smashed to pieces. Like, hand trauma is Mike Flanagan's thing, I think. And this is the best one because she cuts her hand and she starts pulling it.
Everything you say, I'm just like...
In this, I mean, what is it, 3 minutes long?
It was
just
really
watching
long.
This extremely practical and, like, well done, just, like, sliding her hand through the cuff. And you can literally see the, like, tendons, like, pulling and stretching as the skin's, like, folding, trying to, like, fit through the...
Her subconscious was like, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah, either you die or you die.
You die or you die.
You get out and you slit your wrist and you die, or you slit your wrist and you get out, or you die of dehydration. Like, those are your choices.
Right.
So she does that. She tries to get the phone. Phone's dead. Eventually gets the key. Like, this is all
to drag the entire bed.
It is so slow. It is so agonizingly slow watching her.
I loved it because it, like, a lot of movies, like, they'll be like, it'll be like a cut to that and a cut to this. What I'm saying. Yeah, no, but it's literally like a continuous shot of her just being like, the phone dropped, throw the phone. She, like, goes to the other side of the bed, gets up, and then, like, after not standing for 2 fucking days, no strength in her body, pulling this fucking
entire bed because the reinforced posts, and she has to pick up the cuff key with her fucked up hand so that she can unlock the other one. Drops the first key. Does it again, unlocks it with her teeth, passes out. She put pads on her hand, which I thought was really smart. Yes, that was very interesting. And then, like, to stop the bleeding, passes out, wakes up to the dog fucking attacking her again.
But there's still a whole dead body there, dude. Like, well, not a whole, well.
Yeah, but it's been dead for over a day now, and
he wants fresh meat.
Fresher.
Yeah.
And so... she gets the keys eventually. Dog runs away, gets scared again. And what did he get scared of?
Oh, man. It was the Moonlight Man again.
You're not real. You're only made of moonlight. It's what she keeps telling him.
She takes off her wedding ring and gives it to him in his little box of treasures.
That's her tool. You know, that's... And, it's... I literally wrote, fuck yeah, girl, but also, how are you not dead? Because I'm like, gee, and this was after, so she gets to the car, she starts it, she's driving, she passes out. She rams into a tree. Yeah, I literally wrote, how are you not dead?
She dreamt of, like, the Moonlight Man and the eclipse.
Yes.
And then she crashes into the tree, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah, and we keep jumping back to that, like, scene of the two of them outside. But just that scene of the bench and everything's so drenched in red because it's an eclipse of the sun. And it's just so beautiful. I love all the orange and red shots.
Of the sun. Once upon a time I was
Don't.
tied to a bed. Now I ain't got skin on my hand. What happened to all the good mans? All 'cause the Moonlight Man.
I liked that a lot.
All 'cause the Moonlight
Are you going to send that
Man.
directly to Weird Al, or do you have to send it to his producers?
Oh, Casey. Sweetie, I have a whole goddamn backlog of stupid covers of songs that I would love to turn into an album.
I love that. Please let me be a backup singer. So
that was just stupid. I'm so sorry.
So, but she gets to the neighbor's house. She crashes, but she does get to them. They find her. She's honking the horn. She gets out of the car. They save her. And then we cut to 6 months later, or did it even say?
It didn't say.
It didn't say. So it's some time later, enough that she's gotten her insurance settlement, everything's settled down, she's gotten some skin grafts. She's enough to get several skin grafts, and those take months to heal.
And, the people that worked for the firm that her husband, had owned, were, trying to cover everything up. Just the details. Keep them private from the paper.
Yes, the paper, exactly. If you read a story in the paper that's a guy died and his wife was trapped, okay, and then she survived, that's fine. But if you read in the paper that she was tied to a bed with handcuffs and he had a heart attack on top of her and she had to deglove, I would be glad that it kept the details out of the papers too.
Yeah, me too. So I didn't mean covered up in a bad way. I meant not disclose all of the facts.
Yes.
For the general public purposes.
And so Carla Gugino is doing a voiceover for the end of the movie. She's writing a letter to her younger self. And it is so fucking batshit crazy of Stephen King to throw in one of the most interesting serial killer stories I've ever heard in my life as an ending voiceover to a movie that had nothing to do with it. I mean, a guy born with acromegaly starts by raiding fucking tombs and graves for jewelry and little bones. Then it goes on to
chopping them up and fucking the corpses.
And then goes on to killing and raping people. And then when they find him, he also had a mom and a sister that he called Mommy and Daddy, and he'd eaten most of them. And they were dead.
And just jars and jars of fucking ears and
this could make an incredible fucking story. He just tosses it on the end, just sprinkles it on Parmesan on top of this fucking story that, again, has nothing to do with it. He just threw the Moonlight Man in, go fuck yourself. So,
oh my god.
So she's telling the story, so eventually, she heard in the papers that this man with acromegaly, I can't remember what they said his name was, got caught, and she sees his face in the paper, and she's like, oh my god, this is the guy. He's real. I thought he was in my imagination. But it's good for her because she was so afraid she couldn't sleep. She realizes he's real, and he's being arraigned, and, before that, though, she's, in her story, she's telling her younger self, I went years without telling that story to anyone, and now I tell it as often as I can to any kid who can help. She starts, a program to help abused teenagers. And it's just a sweet little ending. And then, she's talking about how she can't sleep. So she goes to the courthouse on the day of his arraignment. Mm-hmm. And he's huge. And he's oh my god.
And she walks in, and she was just like, hey. And he turns and he looks at her. And it is horrifying. And he, breaks his fucking,
I think he's got zip ties.
Yeah, and he puts them up.
Yeah.
When she was, chained up. And he's like, you're not real.
You're only made of moonlight. Which is what she said to him.
And, oh, God, I have chills.
And he's and they're all, trying to, all the cops and bailiffs.
They're trying to restrain him. And she's like...
She walks right up to him. I love it. It's one of my favorite last lines of the movie. She walks right up to him and she goes, You're so much smaller
than I remember.
and then walks away. And it's just like, bitch, yes!
Walks out.
All of her monsters have been put to rest.
Yeah.
All of them. All of her monsters are gone. And for the first time in Jess's entire fucking life, she can live as a normal person and not have to be afraid and not be shackled. And
not live under these secrets.
Yeah. And it's her coming to the realization that, like, no, Gerald wasn't an evil man, but she went to him because that was all she knew. She only knew that dynamic. And she stayed because she was afraid. She was shackled. I mean, it's yeah. Oh God, I love this movie so much.
It's incredible. The attention to detail, how everything has a purpose. It's very like Stanley Kubrick to me in that aspect of like,
you can tell that's an inspiration of his for
it's
sure.
absolutely purposeful. Yeah. Everything, and I think it's just like, God, it's such a hard watch. It's not a movie I will probably watch again for maybe another couple years, but it will stay with you forever.
Yeah.
And it was so well acted.
Yes, absolutely.
It was
well directed. Cinematography was incredible. Lighting,
sound lighting.
Design. Oh my God. The all the
like eclipse moments that we see in that, like being the cover of the movie is like, you know, we have the eclipse.
The writing. I mean, every part of this movie, I forget all the time that it's a Netflix original. To the point where when I went to rewatch it for this, I like almost went and Googled like, oh, where is this movie? And I'm like, duh, it's on Netflix. It's a Netflix special.
Mike Flanagan single-handedly keeping fucking Netflix alive. Because Netflix, you're not doing it. Pay your fucking writers.
This is actually our third Netflix special that we've done on this podcast.
In the Tall Grass. And
it's our fourth.
Oh.
We did In the Tall Grass, The Perfection, and The Platform.
Oh, yeah.
We did The Platform. No, we didn't do The Platform.
Didn't. We talked about doing it.
We need to do The Platform.
That movie is fucking crazy.
Perfection is too. But those are all... and I mean, people can say whatever they want about Netflix specials. Those are fucking incredible. I would love to do Squid Game eventually, too.
Whew. I've only gotten so far in that. That's a hard watch for me. I don't even know why. That one just makes...
so good. I can't wait till the second season comes out.
I need to just completely restart it because I think I only got like 3 episodes in.
I want to rewatch it with a different subtitle. The translations are different depending on what subtitle you listen to. But anyway, yeah. So Gerald's Game, amazing, and I think it is the perfect end to Stephen King summer. I cannot believe we are already at the end of summer. I am still shocked that she let me do this. I have had so much fucking fun.
I've had so much fun too. I got to, because we, you know, like we both have a collective love for horror, but we come from such different backgrounds when it comes to horror. And for me, it's like I got to go into Casey's world and her mind and her beginnings. And I know that
this is where I started.
Yeah, and her mother both love books and Stephen King, and so... You know, it just makes me feel even closer to you that we got to do this together. Why am I getting teary-eyed?
I love you so much. Stop it. I mean, yeah, it just...
But
this has meant so much to me because it's gotten me to read things and watch things that I've never seen of his, and everyone's gonna laugh. Dreamcatcher means so much to me. Like,
Duddits.
I Duddits.
You said I?
I can't believe I went this long without reading that story, and just so many of these movies. Like, I can't believe I went that long without seeing fucking Sleepwalkers. How did I not see that dumbass fucking weird-ass movie? I mean, we have gone on a roller coaster this summer. We have done the best of the best and the worst of the worst. We didn't do... quite the worst of the worst. But we did some pretty bad Stephen King. We did an eclectic mix because he has everything. He's got
all over the board.
He's got bad, he's got all in the middle, and he's even got some non-horror stuff that we'll never cover on this channel. I'm never going to cover Green Mile, never going to cover Shawshank, and I'm never going to cover Dolores Claiborne. They're not horror, and they're hard to talk about, and they're sad. Especially Green Mile. So...
You know what's not sad, though?
What?
The ice is gonna break.
It's gonna break! And it is. But the ice is broken on Stephen King Summer. And we are wrapping it up, and I'm sad. But we're on to bigger things, better things, more things, all the things. This will be the last time that this background is going to look like this. I've got a million more prints framed from Horror Hound and a million other places. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we also, we've just been so busy doing things that we didn't really take a moment to celebrate the fact that we just recorded our 50th episode.
50th episode.
So this is 51,
this
right?
Is 52.
52.
This will be 52.
52.
Yes.
We've just been so busy we didn't even realize.
I know, which is so awesome. Like that's
we've been doing this a little over a year. That's almost like absolutely an episode a week. We've really
52 is that's absolutely
we've been killing it.
So cool. Yeah.
Casey's been
50 fucking episodes
fucking
of us
killing it.
Just talking about nonsense.
And the fact that you guys have been a part of this journey, whether you started watching a week ago or you've been with us since the start.
Our views keep going up. Our subscribers keep going up. We love everyone. And yeah, again, if you've been listening from the start, that's fucking awesome. We love you. Like, wow. I mean, when we started this, it was going to be this is going to be fun. Let's do some stupid shit. And now it's this is a big part of my life. I fucking love this podcast.
Me too.
But yeah, so you're going to have a whole new set to look at in the background. For those that watch, for those that just listen, it'll be the same. We love you.
You just have to listen to our annoying voices. And me picking up songs.
But yes, so that and next week we're going to be doing Midnight Meat Train with Katie.
Yes.
She has been on the podcast once before. I think only once before. She did funny games with us, but she's never been on the camera.
Yes, I forgot about that part.
So we're very excited to have her on for that. And then I'm so excited for after that. We are going to be doing Found Footage Fall. Completely orchestrated by Jess. She is going to be putting the entire schedule together.
I'm finalizing
my list. Good,
bad,
ugly. It's all going to be Jess, and I'm very excited for that.
I can't wait to show her some shitty movies.
And you can change as you go, week to week. If you're actually, I think I want to do this one instead. It's all up to you, baby.
It's going to be super fun. So
we're going to be bringing you some really good stuff. I love found footage. I'm so excited to watch a bunch of found footage that I'm sure I haven't seen. Rewatch stuff that I have. It's going to be awesome. So we're going to do several weeks of that. And then I don't know what's going to happen after that, but we'll still fucking be here doing the damn thing.
Doing the damn thing.
Doing the damn thing. So.
It'll be whatever winter, whatever the fuck we feel like doing.
Yes. We are thinking about, I don't know how you all feel about I'll Be Home Invasion for Christmas in December. That would be fun. My sister came up with that one.
I do like that a lot.
But in the meantime, until then, make sure that you subscribe on the YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Living Dreadful, on TikTok and Instagram.
It's called X, Casey.
It's called Twitter.
Fuck Elon Musk. Sorry, please continue.
It's called Twitter. Instagram and TikTok at Barely Living Dreadful. You can email us at barelylivingdreadful@gmail.com with comments, questions, concerns, requests. And until next week,
stay spooky. Bye. 50 fucking episodes. Woo woo.